From lazy writers abandoning perfectly good storylines to an unacceptably conservative cast, here's why fans are glad Yellowstone is canceled. The topic of Yellowstone's unbelievably lazy writing has been ongoing since the very first season. Longtime fans of the show are now having trouble staying on board. Sure, it has picturesque landscapes, intense drama, and charismatic characters, but there's this one thing that keeps nagging at them like an itch you just can't scratch: the writing. You see, Yellowstone had all the potential to be an absolute powerhouse of storytelling, but sometimes it feels like the writers are taking the easy way out. They've got this incredible canvas of the American West, brimming with complex family dynamics, power struggles, and moral dilemmas. Yet, they often resort to cliches and predictable plot lines that leave fans wanting more. One of the main issues viewers have noticed is how some characters seem to suffer from a lack of development. We have these intriguing personalities, yet they sometimes fall into two-dimensional stereotypes. You can almost predict how they'll react to certain situations, which takes away from the excitement. And let's not forget the convenient plot devices. It's like they've got a magic bag of tricks they pull out whenever they find themselves in a bind. Sometimes it feels like the characters have an uncanny ability to be at the right place at the right time, or uncover information just when it's needed. Life can't be that coincidental, right? Yes, every TV show has its fair share of twists and turns, but Yellowstone sometimes goes overboard with the melodrama. It's as if they think we won't be invested unless they amp up the tension to the max. Subtlety seems to be thrown out the window in favor of big, dramatic moments. And while those can be entertaining in some situations, they lose their impact when they become too frequent. And let's not even talk about the occasional lapses in logic. There have been way too many moments where fans have found themselves scratching their heads, wondering how certain events could happen or why a character would make such an out-of-character decision. It's like the writers either forgot their own rules or simply chose to ignore them for the sake of a flashy storyline. The most unbelievable part is that the show actually has rather good ratings. 8.5 on IMDb. How? Season 5 premiere set records in terms of ratings, cementing the show as one of the best shows in the US, and people still hate it. Thousands of viewers took to Twitter and Reddit to absolutely rip the show apart, from calling the show the most overrated TV program in the history of the medium, to saying it should be a guilty pleasure. One fan broke the whole situation down pretty well. They mostly criticized the writing and how the characters and their stories are extremely predictable. The characters are so poorly developed that viewers can never understand why a character did what they did. Beth was called out for having no stability and making the most random decisions on the show. The way she randomly found a kid she believes is her son and just taking him home is the stupidest thing on the show, and that's saying something. Other Redditors directly mentioned poor storylines and why they hated it. First off, there's this one fan-favorite character who seems to have more lives than a cat. It's obviously Rip Wheeler, the rugged and fiercely loyal ranch hand. It's like the writers can't decide if he's a superhuman action hero or just an ordinary guy, because one moment he's taking down a bunch of armed thugs single-handedly, and the next he's nursing injuries that would put most people in a hospital for weeks. Where's the consistency? Then there's the matter of time itself in the Yellowstone universe. It must operate with its own strange rules. For example, they sometimes compress major events into what feels like just a few days. You'd think they've discovered a magical time warp in Montana. Characters embark on seemingly endless journeys, and when they return, it's as if the world around them hasn't changed at all. Some viewers didn't even like the family dynamics. The relationships between the Duttons can be as turbulent as a summer storm on the prairie. That is understandable. Cowboys weren't exactly amazing at relationships, but here's the thing: the way they interact and communicate with each other seems to fluctuate depending on the episode. One moment, they're ready to rip each other's heads off, and the next, they're all hunky-dory like nothing ever happened. No one has that kind of resilience after an argument with the family. Oh, and let's not forget the ever-changing loyalties of certain characters. Perhaps those ratings were what triggered most viewers into slamming the show like this. Seeing critics rate the show so highly is confusing, to say the least. Rotten Tomatoes has people furious about the ratings, since Season 5's been rated 100% by the Tomato Meter, while fans rated the season a lowly 28%. Usually, it's the other way around, since the critics are supposed to know what's up. They should see viewers' rage coming from a mile away, but the funniest thing is how got it wrong even when people liked Yellowstone. Season 1 was rated 83% by fans, which is pretty good, and the Rotten Tomatoes critics rated it 55%. When fans liked it, they hated it. And now, when fans have canceled the show, critics love it? Why do you think that is? Well, critics don't see the show in the same light as viewers. They look at how the show is shot, and stuff like the quality of the CGI. In Season 5, that part's pretty good. The direction's great, the acting's decent, and some of the shots will have you shaken to your core. The show's made enough from its initial success to be able to afford such cinematography, but money can only get you so far. Viewers only care about the shooting and how well a show's made when they like the story. When all they get to see is cowboys doing crazy stuff for no reason at all, why would they care about the acting and production of the show? The show was always going to get canceled because of the writing and the non-diverse characters, and it didn't come as a surprise, since there's no way the writers didn't see all the comments about how bad the show was doing, and they should have used those comments to improve something. They got away with their cast in the first couple of seasons when the cowboys were still exciting, but they should have sensed what they were missing and added some more characters. It's a surprise Yellowstone ever managed to attract so many viewers, because the show has a shockingly non-diverse list of characters. Fans get that the show's set in the rugged, untamed landscape of the American West, and historically, it might have been a predominantly white, male-dominated world. But it's 2023, and diversity matters more than ever. When you look at the main cast of Yellowstone, it's hard to ignore the lack of representation. It's a bunch of straight white cowboys and cowgirls dominating the screen. While the appeal of traditional Western aesthetics might be appreciable for some, for most, it's disheartening to see such a homogeneous group of characters in a modern TV show. In this day and age, diversity and inclusivity should be at the forefront of any production's priorities. Viewers crave representation because it allows us to connect with characters and stories on a deeper level. Fans want to see themselves and their experiences reflected in the media they consume, wanting to understand and empathize with people from different classes. Yellowstone's setting doesn't have to limit its casting choices. The West, even historically, was a melting pot of cultures, including Native American, Latino, African American, and Asian communities. Incorporating diverse characters wouldn't only be more realistic, but it would bring some fresh perspectives and storylines to the show. Plus, portraying a more diverse cast isn't just about being politically correct, it's about giving underrepresented actors a chance to shine. Talented actors from diverse backgrounds deserve to be part of such high-profile productions. Imagine the potential for compelling storytelling if Yellowstone embraced diversity, since it could have explored cross-cultural relationships, address historical injustices, and explore the modern challenges faced by people from various backgrounds living in the West today. Now, while most have stopped looking forward to the new season, there are still a few who will follow the show until it ends. So yeah, the final season does have some hype, but if the creators wanted to reach the heights they achieved with the first couple of seasons, they should have been more aware of the changing times and the demand for better representation. By doing so, they could have breathed new life into the show, attracted a broader audience, and sent a positive message about inclusivity to the world. But let's face it, at this point, even that might not have been enough to make up for the years of disappointment. So there you have it. From the show being a bunch of straight white cowboys to writers choosing the easy way out of storylines, that's why fans are glad Yellowstone is canceled.